everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicki and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at whcc.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@whcc.com. Learning something new can be tough. There's no doubt about it. And that difficulty usually tends to increase as you get older. In the creative world, a lot of times we learn by emulation. Dan Rowe thinks too many people stop there. Dan's a hard worker who considers himself less of an artist and more of a problem solver. He's from a small town in Indiana, so he has that small town work ethic. In this episode, Dan and I discuss the whats and the whys of how he moved beyond emulation to develop his own style. Start off with who you are, where you're from, etc.
So my real name?
Yeah, your real name.
This is going down. I'm Dan Rowe. I'm not from Morton, Illinois.
No.
I'm from Oakland City, Indiana. And I'm about 30 minutes north of Evansville. Mm-hmm. So middle of nowhere, basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
born and raised? Is that where you're
born and raised, yeah. Actually, so we built a house. Actually, I should say I built a house with my own two hands on a corner of my wife's parents' property. And then actually last year they both passed away. So now we've inherited all that property, and we've got a nice place.
Nice
Place with family history. And then my parents raised me. My dad built his own house as well on the other side of town, which other side of town is a brisk walk away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're close.
We're close. And then I say we're out in the middle of nowhere. It is a small town. It's about 2,000 people. But where the front of my house kind of faces in towards more neighbors, and
right.
I can walk across the street and there's a house there. But my backyard, it's about 67 acres total we have there.
Yeah.
But behind that 67 acres, there's 23,000 acres of wildlife refuge. It's a national wildlife refuge.
Wow, you butt right up to that?
Yeah. So when I go on my morning walk, I cross into a different county, into a different time zone.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool place.
That's trippy.
Yeah. That's where the cool stops, because the rest of town, I'm not too fond of being there, from there the rest of my entire life. But,
right.
No, it's cool. We're pretty lucky to have that. I've got, I am married, like I mentioned, my wife Adrienne, and I've got 2 girls.
Yes.
We figured out after 2 what was causing that, so there's not a third. And they're teenage girls, so I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Oh, my.
The 15-year-old has a 16-year-old boyfriend.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Man, you know what? I've given my girls the other team's playbook, so I hope they're prepared, and we're pretty open with our kids.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do is to make inappropriate mommy-daddy jokes around the girls and watch them blush. So they're not naive, but I hope we haven't crossed the line from preparing them and condoning,
Right.
So
no,
they're both smart kids. They're good kids. They make good decisions so far in their life, and I think they'll be all right. And the boyfriend's a good kid. I like the kid.
You do?
I know. I grew up with both his parents.
Oh, good. All right.
He's a good Christian boy, Jed.
He's good. You can't ask for more than that.
Right. He is as acceptable as any 16-year-old teenage boy can
good.
be. So
good for you.
We're good with that, I think.
So you have some interesting commentary that you were just going over. Can you give me that in a nutshell? I think it's intriguing.
So I have theories. I guess we all do, right? We all have our point of reference in this world.
Some more than others.
Are we talking about anyone in particular?
No.
Any friends of ours?
No, just throwing it out there.
Yeah. So something that's been on my mind a lot lately is kind of how photographers have confused styling with style, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So where this is coming from for me in particular, I mentioned you as we were talking. In my perception, you've got kind of 3 large groups of portrait photographers. I should classify that, portrait photographers. So you've got kind of the newer YouTube circle of people that learned on YouTube, which is a great tool, and I love it. I like everything about the way YouTube has kind of strengthened what we do. But you've got that group of people. Then you've got essentially the PPA and the WPPI, and there's multiple organizations. Those aren't the only three, but you've got these groups of people. What I've been noticing with YouTube though is there's so much repetition of the same thing over and over again. So people see something, they think that's cool, and they want to do that themselves.
Right.
Well, they'll do it once, and it's pretty much an exact copycat of what they've seen, and they'll never do it again. So they're just moving from one thing. Like, there was something, and please, if you did this, don't be offended if you're listening to this podcast at all. But I remember
That's a
seeing...
good disclaimer.
Yeah, right. Because I don't mean, we all do fun things to try new things. And, you see something, you want to try it and replicate it. That's cool. But like... the challenge is a big thing that's popular now.
Challenge,
like the ice bucket challenge or whatever.
Oh,
the
concept of the
yeah.
challenge.
So that hit the photography world, and one that I can remember was people were going into hardware stores and trying to make cool pictures in a hardware store.
Okay.
And we can't really cuss on this. We got to keep it right PG, right? All right. So
do your best.
Yeah, I'll be okay. I went out and said the F word in the bathroom 20 minutes in a row, so I wouldn't say
you
it.
Got that all out, right? Got it out of you. Good.
The F word being friend. Anyway, so people would go into these hardware stores and they'd shoot like next to the paint swatches, or they'd shoot next to, and I'm like, you're literally finding like cool colors and textures. That's not hard. That's like the coolest place in the world to shoot.
Right.
If you'd bring a light in there and light now you've got something to work with, So from my perspective, in a way, in this small town, we don't have a lot of nice places to shoot other than woods and trees. We got plenty of that.
Right.
But we don't have big alleyways with buildings with open shades.
You don't have like an urban environment.
No, we don't have that. So I'm used to shooting long, compressing a scene, and making something crappy look really cool because of the texture. So, these people are saying challenges. So that's what kind of got me looking into this stuff. And I'm scrolling through, and then I started looking back at things I was really familiar with. And this is kind of where this whole idea, I guess is the best way to say it, of mine is coming from. There's lots of Instagram pages where they'll repost photographers' work. And it's kind of, it's like an honor. It's almost like getting your image published in a magazine. Well, it's not really the same thing. It's kind of an affirmation you're doing a good job.
Right.
Almost all of these groups, if you're scrolling through them, if I handed you a phone, someone who knows about photography, you, Jed, if I handed you this phone and said, look at this guy's work, and you would scroll through it, it is a contiguous body of work that, for the most part, looks like it was shot by the same person. And I bet you almost every single one of those people think they've found their style. And I would argue they don't have a style yet. A style is something unique to them. They've found styling, whether that's styling by lighting or styling by clothes or styling by environment. That's what they found. And I don't think the vast majority of those people have gotten to the point. Now, I'm basing this decision and saying how these people are based on one image that's posted on a page, but I think people see that one page and see that's the reality that they should aspire to, because they see it as one contiguous body of work. And I think people are stopping short of finding how to show themselves in something as simple as a portrait of someone else.
So you think that
I don't think. I'm not capable of really thinking. Let's put that out there.
It's an emulation, though.
Yeah.
Right? They're emulating what they've seen. And
that's a good thing on the surface.
Initially.
I think they're falling short because so many people
are stopping there.
I do. I really do. Because I see it so often. So I'll see something that's a cool shot that still looks like the one that was before it, and I'll go to this person's page, and every single image looks exactly the same as all those. From my perspective. Why should
they not stop there?
Why should they not stop there? I mean, why?
I'm asking.
Yeah, because I think they're capable of telling the part of the story that's theirs in an image in a better way.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. Everybody is. I think that's absolutely true.
How do you do that?
That's unique to every person. I can't say that. I just know that you don't do it by stopping.
How do you do it?
How do I do it? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a whole other can of worms, because I think for me it's been easy because I was always the kid who, if everyone was over on the left side of the room, I was on the right side of the room. If everybody was on the right side of the room, I just have always taken a different path. So talking about the house I built.
Yeah.
I built my own house. I was not a licensed contractor. It's a pretty easy thing to do, to be honest. It's physical labor, but it's not a super complex project, against the thoughts of most people.
Okay.
So
I'll take your word for it.
it's really not that hard. But a bank won't give you, for good reason probably, they won't give you money to build your own house because you're not a licensed contractor. But guess who will give you money?
The mob.
Credit card companies.
Oh.
So we built our home on 0% interest credit cards.
Did you really?
So I didn't have to pay any construction interest at all.
My goodness.
So it was a shell game because you're constantly moving balances around and getting the best offer and making sure all the bills get paid so you don't get hit with that reverse
you don't
charge.
Want, You don't want 28%.
And I'll credit my wife with that because that was her job in the deal, and she did a great job with it.
Right.
In the end, you've got like a 1 million credit score and everybody wants to give you all the money in the world. But once the structure is built, every bank wants to give you money at that point.
Right.
So again, just kind of look at it a little bit different and take the path that you know you can take. I went to school to be an engineer. I was working in the mall selling phones for a phone company and making more money than the dean of engineering at my college was making. So I went in and he called me and was kind of upset that I wasn't attending class. And I said, Dean, how much money are you making? And he didn't answer. And I told him exactly what he was because I had a way of finding out. I said, I'm making more money than you. I'll come back when I don't.
Yeah.
I appreciate your interest, but I've got a good thing going.
Thanks for thinking of me.
And I worked for that company for 16 years. And I actually worked for Verizon is who it was at the end. It's not who I started with, but I was on the engineering side. And I did engineering things, although I wasn't obviously an engineer because I never finished school. It was sports. I played 4 varsity sports when I was a freshman. They said you couldn't play 4. I actually played 5 sports, but 4 of the sports I played were varsity. And they said you can't do that because football and cross country at the same time, baseball and track at the same time.
Right.
And I said, if you want me, I'm going to. And by the way, legally, you can't stop me. I didn't know if that was true or not. Turns out it is. They couldn't stop me. So it had never been done before, and I did it. They told me I couldn't.
So you always just do your own thing.
I do my own thing, but I do follow rules. I'm not. You see the goofy side of me. You've been around me enough to know that I'm kind of I like to tell the funny story, and I like to do things to get a laugh and whatnot.
Yes.
But I'm not the person that goes around intentionally breaking rules.
Okay.
I won't go that far. But circling back around, I think I just have a unique perspective, and where that came from, I don't know. I was the firstborn. I've got two younger brothers, and I guess being the firstborn, I was kind of coddled at first, but then when the other 2 came, I kind of had to find my own way and do my own thing. And my dad was never an athlete, and athletics is kind of the direction I went, so I kind of had to pave my own road.
Yeah, you had to carve your own path there too.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know how we got there, but that's.
Well, I was asking you about your style.
So getting back to that then, I think my style has evolved because I didn't follow a given path. I kind of figured out my own path, and by the very nature of taking that particular course of events, my perspective is going to be much more unique than somebody who went to school for photography or learned from someone specific. And I did learn from other people. I'm not saying 100% this all came from me. That's not my point at all, but the path that I took to get there was completely different. So most of the people that started shooting, I think this is the 12th year we've officially had our business, 12th or 13th now. Most people would learn natural light first and then work their way into the studio with strobes. I learned strobes inside, went outside with strobes, and then, actually, to be honest, I'm still learning how to manipulate natural light. That's probably just, I've just always had strobes with me, and physical labor has never bothered me, so I'll lug 40 pounds of gear out in the field and not even think about it. It's just different. It's again, most people don't want to lug the 40 pounds of gear, so they're going to learn the other way first and only do that if necessary. And it's I don't know, it's just a different point of view.
What do you think the result of your commentary regarding other people and their style and their reluctance or inability initially, or at least maybe, I don't know what stops them, their fear to move on from emulation? What's the result of that? How does that manifest?
So you're asking what if someone doesn't continually?
Well, I hear you saying that a lot of people stop.
Well, I think there's a burnout. I think they burn out, and I think it's just like everything else. If myself included, we all get to a point where we feel like we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And the only way to not feel like you're doing the same thing over is to do something different, right? That's the only way you get away from that feeling.
Right.
So I don't know the number. You may know it better than I. At one point I was told that about 18 months start to finish was the average burnout time for a brand new photographer.
Is that right?
I don't know if it's true or not. This could be completely made up. And it could be something I didn't hear and I had a dream of and have convinced myself it was real too. But at one point that's what I was told. It was about 18 months of a brand new photographer gets a camera, they start, I'm going to have a photography business. In 18 months, they're no longer doing it. And that's probably not the people we're surrounded by here, but there are a far greater number of people that get a camera. I'm going to be a photographer.
Right.
And 18 months was the number. No idea if that's true or not, but, and I think that's why they go from.
They never get past emulation.
Yeah. And it's sad, I think, because it's an outlet, right? It's a creative outlet. I think you and I have had the conversation about how I really don't feel I'm an artist. I feel I'm a problem solver. I think they have very strong parallels, but I don't really think they're the same thing. We were mentioning Parker, who I had the great chance to meet back in 2009 at Cliff's place, actually, Cliff Mountaineers. And he's an artist. He pours his soul into things he creates. Yeah. Dave Jr., our mutual friend, I believe he's an artist, kind of from a different perspective, but he's an artist. I don't feel I'm an artist. I feel I'm a problem solver. It's when I was shooting volume, you got 16 seconds to figure out this kid's personality and how to get them to do what you want them to do, which is ultimately smile and help you build a portrait that mom's going to buy, right? Every single kid is a different problem because every single kid is completely unique. Right. And that's the rush. That's kind of the fun part for me is solving those problems. But my solutions to those problems is still unique to me based
to who you are,
to who I am. And I found ways that I feel I'm putting my uniqueness into those solutions. If you're constantly just emulating someone, it's kind of depressing to think that it's almost like plagiarizing a book, right? You wrote a bunch of words, but you didn't write that. And it's part of the process. We all, I'll stay on that analogy. None of us learn to write words by writing original thoughts. We all copied sentences. So emulation is that's the starting point of learning, but it's not even the middle part of learning. The middle part is figuring out your own solutions and building your persona, right?
You're a passionate guy in general, but why do you care about this?
I don't know that I really care about it. It's just something that's been of interest to me. Does that make sense to say it differently like that?
Okay.
I'm not an activist. I really don't care what anybody else is doing. I'm kind of in my own little world doing my own little thing. I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow.
So your commentary on this is simply based on what you've noticed.
Commentary.
It's an observation and nothing more.
I think so. And I hate to be that. Oh, is that shallow?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm not going to.
We said I'm an a-hole. I said I'm an a-hole. I'm pretty sure if enough people call you an a-hole, you're an a-hole. Those are the wise words my wife once told me. Yeah.
If enough people do?
Yeah.
What's the number?
In my case, 427,342 and a half. I'll explain the half later. I've got some judgmental.
There's probably some validity there then for you. Well,
so we're moving on to politics now, and then we'll finish with religion. Goodness. What are we going to do?
Oh my word! I am curious about this then.
Okay.
So if it's solely observational, which I sort of believe and sort of don't.
You saying I'm full of it? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I think you care more than what you let on.
I don't know, man. Because I'm not a bad person. I don't mean to say it like that.
I'm not saying you're a bad person.
I know you're not. You're actually making me feel really good right now. I
think you care more than what you let on. I've seen the way that you interact with people, and I know that you're goofy, and I know that you have somewhat of a persona like we all do, but I've also seen you get very serious about things that matter with people.
I really care about the people I know.
Well, there you go.
I don't so much have the ability to care about people I don't know.
I don't believe you. I think you do more than what you let on. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't feel that way. I don't feel that's who I am. Now, literally, the process of meeting me is just meeting me, and then I'm 100% into whatever you need me to do. You know, all right. So think about this. So, all right,
maybe that's what I'm saying.
So, all right.
I've seen you teach. You don't know all those people, but I've seen you teach.
No, all right. So, all right. So maybe I'm not making my point clear. If I'm in a room with people, there is a personal connection that's happening there. I may not know every single person's name, although I'm really good at remembering names in a really quick fashion.
I believe you.
I'm invested in them, and I believe at that point they're invested in me. We are communicating on a personal level, even though it may be me speaking to a few hundred people in a room, right? So I do care about them, yes. Our industry in general, yeah, I care about it because most of my friends are in this industry. Are a photographer from California that I've never met and probably never will meet? I mean, I don't wish ill things, but I don't know that I care. That's the only point. I guess that's where.
Fair enough.
Are we arguing semantics at this point? Is that what's happening?
Yes. So we're going down a semantic rabbit hole. You don't care about the ether as much as you care about the people that are real.
Is ether alcohol? No, right? Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't even know
if that's the right.
Yeah. Remember, I quit school.
Correct way to phrase it. I also quit school. That's a common theme I'm finding.
Well, you know why we quit school. Like, it's the same analogy that, like, again, I'm going to make
I would love to hear from you why
I'm going to make
school.
this. I'm going to make this this statistic up, but I'm going to say like 70% of multimillionaires, and the number's probably higher now because multimillionaire really, unfortunately, isn't all that wealthy anymore. Although it's wealthier than me, and I don't know if this
certainly
you're not
wealthier than me. Yes.
Okay, but some high number of those people never finished college, and is it because they never finished college? They're know something, they're so much smarter, or is it more because they don't fit in anyone's box and they don't follow paths that people have created for them well, and they end up finding their own path? So the multimillionaire college dropout isn't necessarily any smarter than anyone else. They just can't follow the rules as well as everyone else, and they end up either being lucky and being wealthy or being unlucky and there's someone that is in a meal hall on Thanksgiving, unfortunately.
Right.
So, yes. You know my favorite part of your podcast? When you do that laugh. That's my favorite part. I think you shouldn't have a theme song. It should just be that laugh.
I hate it because I want it now. You're making me. I feel red. You're
not red.
I am. I feel flushed.
Look at my ears.
You are
right now. You see that? That's red.
It's hot in here. I've had other people say that, and when I'm laughing like that, that sound comes out. I'm trying to laugh quietly. I'm trying to. That's me repressing the laugh. And so it sounds like that.
Why would you do that? Now let's talk about you for a second. Why would you do that? Because the greatest thing you can share with someone is a laugh. I really believe that. Why would you want to suppress that? Jed, what kind of personal issues do you have? You know what would be great? If I could make you cry during your own podcast about your own issues.
Oh, people have.
Have they really?
Yes. Yeah.
I've only listened to 2 of your podcasts.
Well,
No, I'm
that's a
kidding. I've
confession.
listened actually quite a bit more of it.
No, that could be a whole series of me talking about my issues.
I don't think you have many issues. I think you're an awesome person.
Oh, buddy, you'd have to sit back and hold on. You know what? I'm intrigued by your commentary of people stopping at emulation. I'm thinking about that a lot now. I'm wondering why people do it, because I think you're right. I think it is a thing, and I think that people do stop there. I think it has to do with fear, because there's a risk there that's involved.
I don't know if I agree with it that it stops because of fear.
I think people are afraid because in order to go past emulation, you risk exposure, and that's a vulnerable thing. And I think people get get scared of rejection or get scared of being made fun of or being judged or whatever else people are afraid of when they're vulnerable. And so I think that it's fear that stops people from going past emulation regarding their own expressing themselves, really. Because I think a lot of people don't like themselves. And I think that they're afraid that if people see who they really are, that they're going, because they have experienced rejection, and I think that they associate that with who they are, and that makes them afraid to really go past the emulative phase of a creative process. I just threw it all out
actually there. That's actually very interesting. I think. Do you want the cups half full version of that?
I want whatever you got.
I think I think that's definitely true. There has to be that sort of thing. But I think maybe the people that are affected more by that are the people who pick up a camera and really genuinely believe they're going to make a career of photography.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of the people that I'm talking about never really even thought about that. That's just something cool and fun to do. And it being the way that they're feeding their family has not once ever crossed their mind, because it's an access thing, right? These cameras and these lights and everything's become so much more accessible, and so the learning curve is gone. There is no learning curve to making a decent portrait of it.
Now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably really irritate a lot of people to hear me say that. And I'm going to lose a lot of friends.
I think it's objective that the barrier to entry is ludicrously lower than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean
whether anybody likes it or not.
Well, Dave Junion and Michael Cerezo and I were having actually a conversation today that, again, I believe I lost a debate, like the debate we had, about just something as simple as a light meter, and whether it's necessary now or almost kind of gets in the way of shortening the learning curve to becoming a creative person with a camera as a tool. And my argument was, I don't really think it's necessary anymore, because the back of the screen that we were told when I started shooting, don't look at the back of the screen because it's not an accurate representation.
Right.
It's the freaking photograph now. It's
Right.
what you took. You know,
The technology is there to support things that you didn't have the ability.
Yeah. You know, now it's still a very valuable tool. You know, the craftsman who uses the hammer he's had for 30 years, he doesn't want to move away from that hammer. That hammer does a great job. But someone who's starting building now, they're going to pick up an air nailer.
Right.
And they're going to be able to build things faster. It may not be that particular.
Was it the John Henry and the steam? Wasn't that the old story where he's John Henry's pounding?
Didn't he die at the very end,
he's
though?
Like pounding the railroad stakes in by hand, as opposed to like a steam engine that can come across. Or
if I Google that song, will you sing it with me?
Old John Henry.
Wasn't it a song? It seems like I remember singing the song in kindergarten.
I got a lot of things that I think are getting mixed up in my brain from like old folk tales and whatnot. I think that was good. I'm going to be pondering the emulation piece for quite. I think stopping at emulation, because I think that is a big first step. But I think a lot of people do stop there.
And to be fair, I mean, I guess I've been doing this long enough, and we're the same age. I think we actually graduated the same year, if I remember.
93.
Right. You're a year older than me.
Mm-hmm. I am. I remembered that. We found out that night too.
Anyway, maybe it's just life and my views are changing. I'm becoming a little more jaded, a little more old man, get off my grass sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I really think that my view about everything is a little unfair because of how this industry accepted me. So I'm a guy shooting out in the middle of nowhere, and I did okay. But I could literally name drop about 20 names that pretty much everyone that's a portrait photographer would know, of people who have taken me under their wing and not because I went to a workshop, although some of that stuff happened. I mean, I've met some phenomenally talented people. Some of those people have become as close with me as my high school best friends, the people that were in my wedding. And not everybody gets that, you know. That's pure, absolute dumb luck that I've been able to be around those people. I know what you're about to say, and it's dumb luck that I was in the situations for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a likable guy, and I do funny stuff, and people seem to be drawn by that. But dumb luck put me there.
Is it Mark Twain that says, like, luck favors the bold, or luck favors the person that works hard, or
something like that? I think, yeah.
Okay. I'll just leave you with that.
No, I mean, yeah.
You call it dumb luck. I would call it deserved luck. Because you've worked for it.
I work hard. I do.
It would be dumb luck if you didn't work for it.
Nah, let's just go with dumb luck. It's going to make the story better when I tell this to somebody else.
Okay.
Dude, my wife gave me a list of stories when I told her I was doing this that you're not allowed to tell. I have the best stories about running a home-based business with kids and people being in your house that are complete strangers. And
I think I know one or two of those.
You might know one or two of those, yeah.
Some of those are really good.
Yeah, they're not appropriate for this format, not at all.
You know what? We'll put those on a different podcast that we start.
I don't think she'll let me tell them. I think if I tell them anywhere outside of a face-to-face conversation, that I won't have a home to go home to.
We can use different names. We'll call somebody Anna and somebody Dave.
Okay, all right. I could do that.
So these stories are about Anna and Dave.
Anna and Dave. Anna and Dave seem like great people.
Well, they have some really good stories.
Does Dave have a shiny head?
Yeah.
Red, big ears, kind of crooked teeth.
Yeah, he kind of looks like you.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I appreciate this. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm honored, to be honest. It's an honor to be on this conversane. I hope it's called This Conversation and not that, because I'll feel really stupid if it's called That Conversation.
No, you got it right. It's This Conversation.
I'm smart. I don't know if you knew that about me.
Until next time.